Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for coming. It's a great pleasure to have a lecture today by Dr. Ljubiša Bojic. He is a senior research fellow at the University of Belgrade at the Digital Society Lab there, located in the Institute of Philosophy and Social Theory. And he's currently a visiting fellow at the Institute for Human Sciences in Vienna. And during his time in Vienna, it's great to also have him here. He does research on anything that is related to the future of everything that is digital. And today we'll learn about the impact of ChatGPT, Metaverse, and social media. We're very much looking forward to your talk. Thank you so much, Ljubiša, for coming.
Thank you for hosting me today. I would like to share some of the research that we did at the Digital Society Lab in Belgrade in a previous period, and point towards the research that needs to be done in the future in terms of recommender systems. First, I would like to share with you my view of these algorithms, I would say, but I look at them in a more wide way, I would say. So, first of all, any kind of algorithm that does a recommendation of content, knowledge, values is considered recommender algorithm in my research. So I don't take this narrow definition of a recommender algorithm as something that is an algorithm which is very technically defined and it gives some kind of recommendation. In that way, it's possible to apply it on recommender systems, on ChatGPT, and in the future on artificial general intelligence, because from a social point of view, it's important what we are exposed to, because that affects our further actions and values and well-being, happiness, and many other aspects of our life. As you probably know, these algorithms usually applied on social media function very easily. They have many data points about us, and based on these data points, they provide some kind of content recommendation. So the problem is they're not transparent and they're set up to make continuous engagement, to make us glued to phones and to screens and to use some apps continuously while selling products through ads, etc. The first case that brought public light to these algorithms is the case of Cambridge Analytica. It is kind of interesting that the whole public was very excited about this in a negative way, that some firm can take the data and do the analysis, and then according to our personal traits, send recommendations to us. In these cases, those were allegedly recommendations related to some elections in the United States or situation in the Great Britain related to Brexit. So, although this has not been proven, that's the way how things worked in the UK when Cambridge Analytica took the data from Facebook. That was the first point at which everyone was saying that Cambridge Analytica did something bad, while these big tech companies were not actually in a spotlight because they do the same thing, but so the focus was never on the right perpetrator in a way that tech companies really have power to determine the algorithm. They know the algorithm, and we don't know that very influential algorithm. The next was Frances Hogan in 2022. She made remarks regarding Meta or Facebook that she was engaged with. Actually, she was there to analyze these instances of algorithmic influence across the world. And the main conclusion there was that this polarization, the amplification of protests, negative instances and spread of negative emotions, that was not dealt with by Facebook, although she was on that task. So she decided to go out and to expose the data that were confidential before that point. After that, she started working with EU regulators on regulating AI. And we don't know what really happened, but she is dedicated to that goal. Another good example related to that is TikTok. While in China, there is a so-called spinach version, according to laws in China. In the rest of the world, there is opium version, because it is based on multiple data points, much more than other social media use. And it is aimed to addict or to make people continuously use their phones. So a version in China is much better because it exposes people with some education content and some positive emotions as well. While the reason for that may not be because of good intentions, but what is the case. In case TikTok would be banned, other social media would continue the same practice in the world, so it wouldn't make the difference. The solution is about regulating this field in a profound manner. The recent case was about Gonzalez family, whose member was killed in a terrorist attack, and the Gonzalez family accused Google and Twitter of spreading the terrorist content of ISIS. So it was in front of the court in the United States, and the recent conclusion was that social media cannot be liable for what they publish online, because they just actually host your content. I would argue that's not true, because social media actually amplify the content the way it's in their interest. So it's not only about hosting, it's about amplifying. And I know that you do work around hate recognition and hate speech on social media, while usually researchers focus on those that create hate instances and messages and photos and everything. They don't focus so much about algorithms that spread hate. So it is about how algorithms are set up. In 2013, when I did defense of my PhD, I was focusing on showing and presenting this survey about media addiction that compared old and new media. And the conclusion was that higher levels of media addiction were provoked by new media as opposed to old media. And I was thinking about why that might be the case. The conclusion was that new media, or at least my analysis, personal analysis, that new media have more reality mimicking features. and that's why they are more addictive. And the problem is that these cross-country studies have never been done in terms that some kind of continuous media addiction study in different countries from one year to another year. Also, the problem is that researchers don't focus on these low latency addictions. That means we cannot really call a person an addict, but really it shows some signs of addiction. And that is most influential for the whole society. So I think that further research needs to be focused not only on multi-country analysis and year after year after year, but also what happens with our use, which is not highly addictive stuff, but we do it all the day. We interact with these devices. Another important thing is that I kind of came to the conclusion that what is represented can never be the same. So the communication through social media, through smartphones, can never be the same as personal communication, direct communication between ourselves. And sometimes 4K television can even make better picture. So in the future, when we have the metaverse, it may be very addictive. In fact, some studies have already shown that metaverse is more addictive than other media. Okay, it's a strange slide because it has some kind of citation from the Bible on one side, and on other side, there is research and analysis by one of the scientists pointing towards the addiction in metaverse. What I'm trying to say here, that all underlying technologies are really implemented in the new ones. So they are interacting, and especially in the time of double exponential growth, this is very dangerous because we don't know what will happen, and powerful new virtual realities may be the next step after the smartphones, because many companies are investing into the metaverse. And as I already said, VR games are more addictive than just the regular games, according to some research. In the beginning, there was the word I used that because actually currently we have these big neural networks, ChatGPT. They are very good at creating intimate text, a text that is like we really produce. So I wouldn't underestimate that, although many people say that these neural networks are not really intelligent, they just predict the next word. At the same time, some companies are really preparing to let these autonomous vehicles, which are already ready to the market, their visual recognition technology at this point. And ChatGPT at this point is learning on YouTube videos, which is very important because we have different kind of perceptive apparatus there, and it gets really more powerful and more complicated. I guess you have asked GPT-4 as well some questions, and it looks as it understands. It's not important that it may not understand when we have such an effect in reality that it really understands our questions. When I look at this question, I actually perceive it in a very wide way. AGI should be a new technology, and ChatGPT is envisioned as predecessor of artificial general intelligence because it really can be applied to multiple tasks. It's not only creating text, and interacting. It can only also be applied to various cognitive functions. So if we have religions and nation states, corporations, really affecting societies around the world, I look at it as systems that humans have created, some type of artificial intelligence. And we know how many people have been killed in religious wars, how many people die in wars between countries because of power. There is a regional power, there is global power, and many people die even today, just as a side effect of these systems created by humans, which really maybe it could be argued have their own will to grow, to have more power. And it's interesting how this platform-based economy is actually corresponds with artificial general intelligence, because there was always warnings from scientists that if we apply one algorithm to many different functions, it will be very dangerous. And we're actually heading towards that way, to apply one algorithm, one AGI to different areas of life, to smart houses, to smart cities, in our homes, in our vehicles, to connect everything with one algorithm. That is what people envision as a future, and that's what is exactly dangerous. And we cannot escape that because corporations want to be very successful. They tried with the OpenAI, making it like a public company, or not a public, like NGO, to make AI open for all. And they figured out they cannot do it. So they had to make it a private thing. And that is the problem, because society is set on a way it is set, and it's heading towards some kind of basic principles of the past, and that cannot be escaped. It's about money at this point. And also corporations, they don't really care about human beings, as you may imagine. They just care about their growth. So the question is, will artificial general intelligence do the same? Will it optimize Earth according to own merits, to its own merits, or will it optimize according to human values? So I look at these issues from the beginning of appearance of mass media, when there was universal content for everyone, and we could have seen there the rise of negative news, and nobody was against that. It was a normal thing. You have few TV stations in a country, for example, 40 years ago, and they just have that kind of programs, news in which negative news dominates in a way. So it was not important issue so much, but things changed when recommender systems actually took the stage, when social media expanded at some point, when we had individual content and AI as curator, as moderator, determining what kind of content each and every one of us will get. The new ChatGPT era is the era where we say AI for everyone, like it was smartphones for everyone. It's important when some technology becomes mainstream, when everyone starts using it, and it may be late to regulate the technology at that point, because it's already powerful, already many people use it, etc., etc. So now we have a situation when, if I have some kind of like 10 million euro, I can train my large language model, and I can automatize it in a way it creates many profiles on social media, and it pretends to be some person, and it publishes content hour by hour or day by day. So this is very dangerous, and as you may know, for democracy. And if we have AGI, the next thing, it's envisioned to be even more powerful and even more intelligent than any human being. So in case things are set that way, then it will only advance current and previously set goals. It doesn't have to be conscious or anything. It is about how you set it. And the algorithms, the systems are set that way to promote this kind of content. In one review paper that I look at this issue of the recommender systems in a holistic way, I use these different kind of statistics with the main aim to point towards the fact that these recommender systems applied on social media are actually used by more than half of world population. And it's very powerful by that mere fact. It's also that these algorithms are applied to each and every area of our life. So if you want to get a job, you're going there. If you want to buy something, you're going there. If you want to meet some new person, a romantic partner, you're going there. It is actually tremendous impact. And it relates to different points of life, as I already said, from economy to dating, etc. And there are many people that actually met their romantic partners there online, through online means. It's normal thing nowadays, and you know that. But it's important to acknowledge that, to really sum up that data, and to it has never been acknowledged in a way, in a very holistic way. But there have been many kind of research endeavors that pointed towards the issues that you all know, and you maybe research these issues, such as echo chambers and polarizations, spread of negative emotions, emotional contagion, the rise of media addiction, fairness, bias, inequality, and privacy. I will not further explain this because it's what we all know, and this has been proven. Why I think recommender systems, large language models, and AGI should be a public good. There are a few reasons, actually. First of all, we all have just 24 hours per day, and some of that time is taken from us by these highly addictive algorithms. That is limited resource, 24 hours per day for each and every one of us. The second thing is they're using our content, they're using our work. Okay, they host it, they provide a service to us, but they also use that content and they amplify it if they see that it can be addictive to other people. So they use it for own personal purposes. And the third thing, AGI is built on our knowledge, and it will expand on our knowledge. So that is a reason to have universal basic income in the future. If things go this way, it would be necessary. There wouldn't be any other solution. When I say public good, I don't mean really every social media platform belonging to the people, etc. That's not what I think. I think that we need to find an algorithmic solution for algorithmic problems to balance the content that each and every one of us get. For example, education versus entertainment, positive emotions versus negative emotions. It's very easy to analyze the content and to make some kind of balance in algorithmic recommendations. Then in emotional intensity, it's very common to hear that we're getting arousing content, and in the mass shootings in Serbia, which happened recently, that was very important because, you know, some traumatic event for the whole society happened, and these algorithms just made it worse and worse, and they just stimulated persons to go outside to protest. Possibly, we cannot prove it, of course, but these algorithms are especially important at these sensitive times for society, at critical times, at crisis, and they are the same. So they just stimulate anger and fear, etc. And then the topics we're interested, as opposed to topics we're not interested so much, and then our opinions for and against. So we need to be exposed to different kind of environments, opinions, to be creative and to really engage in the whole community and not stay in one limited echo chamber. Also, this could be regulated by United Nations or some international organization. So to avoid these autocrats in different countries that would try to direct these regulations toward their personal benefits. And when done like that, it could be a shared kind of decision by society, decision by platform, and decision by each and every one of us. Transparent algorithm, which is really determined by different aspects of society, and at the bottom point, we should have some personal freedom to decide what we get. If we want to get addicted, it's okay, but just, you know, slide the things and get some kind of solution. In December last year, we signed the Belgrade Digital Freedom Pledge at the conference where Jörg took part. It is a pledge that calls different actors to talk about these issues, to make a wide social society discussion about recommender systems, about digital identity, about the need to do research in this arena in terms of directing the technology for the benefit of society and for the benefit of human beings. That is digital humanism. And I hope there will be some serious effort in this area in the future. I see some important points from the history that may be leading towards the AGI, such as agricultural revolution, where you could produce lots of food, so that may have influenced a population boom. The industrial revolution, where you could really provide all the things that people need. And then specifically in the area of media, I see expansion of mass television as important point leading towards the expansion of social media, then popularization of smartphones, because it made a difference when we could access the internet at each and every moment in the day, and it serves as an extension of human being. We just take it everywhere with us. And then the next step, the rise of ChatGPT, and the possible next step in the future, the rise of AGI, which would really be applied across the globe in different sectors, as I already said. This is just an outlook, a possible timeline of this, and maybe the idea of this slide was to open discussion in terms of how you see the future and how these algorithms and finally the AGI should be set. Because AGI is basically about human values. It should be set according to human values in order to be successful. For example, if the AGI would be neutral, it would really optimize Earth according to its own merit. If in case it would be set by human values, then it would be better, I hope. At the end, I would like to point out towards the three areas that I see as most impacted in a negative way if in case the algorithms continue their work in that direction. If they continue to polarize societies, then we would have more hate, we would have even more polarized societies, because they're capable now to create that intimate content. So they would be even more successful in spreading hate speech and negative emotions. Then, in case in the future, we are still exposed to very limited ideas and the content that we're only interested in, I would guess the creativity would be lower. It is true that we are also exposed to creativity by algorithms, but it wouldn't be the same as the things that we see. We wouldn't have an idea to ask the right question to the ChatGPT, but ChatGPT would be able to improve our creativity by giving us some ideas. But the starting point wouldn't be good, because we wouldn't have our own idea to explore further in a way. And the third field that I see affected would be relationships between people. I think if we are connected to technology more, that divide between people will grow and the relationships would really be different, which is very important because this is connected to happiness. Studies have shown that real intimate connections and good friendships are really the best predictors of happiness and well-being, which is subjective feeling, of course. And we invite you really to participate in the Emerge Forum for Future of AI-Driven Humanity that will take place in Belgrade from 23rd to 24th November this year. Would very like you to join us. This year, it won't be a scientific conference that Jörg took part in and really made a great contribution. This year, it will be a forum where we try to really connect these regulators and tech leaders and scientists. And we have 2 or 3 days of the speeches and panel discussions about this. I will try to get someone come from OpenAI, which will be very important, and some people from EU that really have impact in this AI Act, which should be adopted very soon. You can support the Belgrade Digital Freedom pledge just by signing it, digitally signing it, going to our lab's website. And I would really like to hear what you think about the future and what your research has shown, because you have been dealing with these questions of hate speech and other communication-related, society-related questions in a in-depth manner. So it will be great. I would like to take questions as well if anyone has some kind of questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lubiša, for the inspiring talk. I think we still have some time for questions, and I'd like to open the floor and ask if there are questions in the room or comments.
I would have a few questions because this talk was really inspiring. Thank you so much. There was so much important information in there. So I start with one question, if I'm allowed to. You in the end, you explained something about the balance of content. For example, that there should be a balance of entertainment and education, or a balance of emotional high intensity and low intensity. What exactly did you mean by that? That the content people see should be balanced, yes. So that, for example, this is just my personal example. I hate entertainment content. And I hate high content that's high in emotional intensity. So would your suggestion mean that I should be, that the algorithms should suggest me content that is more entertaining and higher in emotional intensity?
Well, yes, you are a rare person that has kind of preferences like that. Of course, I agree with you that it's a big complicated question. It's also complicated because it is related to your account. And then what about your privacy? Is it okay to do this kind of analysis of content? But I think it's possible to make it some kind of anonymize these the analysis, if there are some strict standards to do that, and really balance the content in a way that it's good for you.
And
but yes,
what is good for whom?
Yes, well, it's mainly the other kind of example that people prefer, entertainment, and then we get some kind of education content for them as well, because if they stayed in the direct environment, then I guess they would be affected by different opinions and different. They couldn't avoid being affected to different kind. So the idea here is to really make a realistic or a content, a balance of content for you that is connected to direct reality. At the time before we had all these devices, it is true that okay, you want to be there in your world, but also it's good to have some kind of other inputs, I guess, in order to be realistic. But the balance should be decided by the whole society in the discussions, etc., etc. And you would have some portion that you can set by yourself by just sliding it from entertainment to education and sliding it to very peaceful, meditative YouTube videos and songs that you want to get, which is really cool. And I think that it would be possible, but I understand that it has some kind of yes, what to do with people that are really inclined towards this good, nutritious content, and then you make them shift a bit towards other kind.
I think it's really difficult to say what's nutritious, because I need this content. This would be boring for other people maybe, but to calm down, because my thoughts are very active during the day. So I like this when I don't know, can focus on something and I wind down. And I think maybe for other people, they have had maybe a bad day and then they want positive emotions. And how would you kind of force them to, even if the algorithm is suggesting them an educational calm video, to watch this video, and yeah, then they see it on their page of recommendations. But
yes, but they don't see it now at all. So
okay, so your suggestion would imply just to show it to them, and then they can still decide if they want. Of course.
Thank you.
And following to this question, do you think that the problem is that we can expose to, for example, entertainment or education content in a similar way, or the problem is, for example, we expose to political content, but we can only see one perspective of this content, not, for example, different perspectives towards one
Yes.
phenomena. So I think this is maybe two different types of problems, because I think maybe this part is more problematic than difference between education or entertainment content.
Yes, of course. Well, every part is problematic in a way, but it's also about showing you some kind of perspectives that you are not inclining towards. Yeah, that's right. And it's easy to recognize that through simple algorithmic means. You incline towards some idea and you get a bit of other ideas as well. So you don't become extreme. If you want to, if you're a very young, vulnerable person and you go to all these websites where they preach that you should kill yourself, some kind of very, something like sex or I don't know what. And then it's very dangerous, you know. So the issue is quite serious, because we get this stuff in a real life. People can kill themselves. Some young people, for example, they believe in the theories, the conspiracy theories. They go outside and they really make something terrible. And also the things in the United States, the protests that happened were connected a lot of way to these echo chambers.
I may follow up, Lubisha. I mean, the idea of balancing content in algorithmic recommendation systems is, I think, a novel one, and I think it would solve all the problems that you outlined in your talk. The question is it feasible? Is it realistic? Is this a realistic scenario? I think it is a good solution, and you have a similar thought in the idea of public service broadcasting. It's a very similar idea. It's public good, public value, public service. But when it comes to algorithms, I mean, the algorithms are successful because they give people what they want. So because they respond to users' needs. And I remember, you may remember this too, when the first search engines came, some of you may remember. So we had also, not now it's Yahoo, but now it's Google. But back in the day it was Yahoo. I still remember the Yahoo. And at some point Yahoo was really bad. So you entered something, but you didn't find what you needed. And it took a month, and then no one used it anymore. And then Google came. Google was much more powerful and widespread because it was more accurate to give you what you want. Whereas in Yahoo, you had, I'm not sure how Yahoo is today, but at some point it got lost. You didn't find what you were looking for, and then you abandoned it. So the negativity we have in tabloid media or mass media, same principle. I mean, news is negative because this is what the viewers actually are interested in, and journalists are following up on those viewer decisions because they see when it leads. So if the idea of a balancing content and algorithm recommendations would only work if everybody would do it. So as long as you have a private market and some would do it, those products or those tools would probably fail. When you have other recommender systems that would not stick to these novel principles, because you could argue that part of the viewership of the audience would then move to the recommender system, that if you are interested in, if you're only interested in conspiracy theories, that gives you only conspiracy theories 24/7. If you're only interested in hate, you get hate 24/7, because this is what will fuel use over and over and over again. So in order to make this solution work, it needs to be global on a large scale, not only in Europe, because if it's a European solution, then you could go, or this also with language is less and less a barrier. You could also go to other Chinese or Russian or what have you providers who would give you the content that you were looking for. That seems to be, to me, a big challenge. Not a question, but I have a question for you. Just a comment. The question I was also wondering when you outlined the idea, Lubisha, is it too late for this? Because we're already used to these selection principles. We are already trained as humans, as users, that the recommendation works according to our needs. If we weren't trained like that, then it may be easier to kind of get people used to a more balanced content with the two different blocks that you outlined. So if this was a normality,
yes,
then it would be easy for us to adopt. But now the normality is different. It's 100% my user. Large share is my user interest, and the system learns from that, or tries to learn from that. It's not perfect, but it tries to adopt to my needs and interests as perfect as it can in order to fuel future use. And if you don't get it, we are frustrated automatically. So we're easily frustrated because we immediately want the content we're looking for and not the other stuff. So Steffi could be frustrated if she gets, what was it?
I'm often frustrated that when I get
Yes.
entertainment, trash entertainment content, I close the app if I don't
Yeah.
find.
So because
looking.
you're not used to it anymore because you can make those user selections. We are there's a time of selectivity, rising selectivity user selections. And now it's very different to go back from it. So do you think we can go back from this area of selectivity to an era where you have more balanced content that is only determined by selectivity to 1/3, as you outlined? What do you think?
yes, very good question, a challenging one. But that's why I said, for example, at the beginning of my talk at the network in the data department of the Central European University here in Vienna, I said that I think that regulations should be crafted while these large technologies are created by big companies. When money is invested, a lot of money is invested in that technology, and when something is seen as a very as a thing that will become mainstream. Yeah, so you're right. When something becomes mainstream, it's absolutely different when people start using it. They're already, in a way, addicted to that technology. But I guess new habits are created, and after some time, for example, a month or so, it's possible that people will adapt to new reality, and that many of them will see how life is better without of those addictive junk, I would say. And for you personally, maybe the solution is that if someone wants education content and calm things, that's possible. But if someone wants 100% entertainment and addictive stuff, that's not possible. So the widespread discussion about this needs to be conducted in order to do that. And of course, you're right, the decision on a global level is needed, the regulation that would encompass all countries, because this is a global issue. Multinational corporations, and especially tech corporations, they affect everyone. So
I think
but I think I forgot something that you.
Please go ahead.
No, I think you said something else.
Is it too late? Is it too late for that? Well, my question was, is it too late because we're already used to 100% selectivity, and now we want to move back to less selectivity?
Yes, and the first remark was before the question. Do you remember that? Because I wanted to say something about that, but it doesn't.
You did. It's a global. It must be global. Otherwise,
yes.
Okay. So Yahoo was people moved from Yahoo to Google because Yahoo didn't deliver what. When I remember, Yahoo was very big, and I was only using it. And then Google came, and then Yahoo. I realized Yahoo is just nothing, and then only Google. I just deleted Yahoo. So people will not follow it. People may not accept it. People may move away from the technology. The moment you install a different logic in the recommender system. Yes,
that's why I say TikTok, banning TikTok is not a solution, because everyone else use similar technologies. Yes, you want.
Honestly, I think your suggestion is related that somebody should decide for all people. You say that there is a global issue, but the solution is not related to all people. The solution would be the decision of some people would think that know which think is better or not. So I think maybe it would not work because all people, there is no opportunity for a human choice. There is no opportunity for all people who want to decide which content they want to expose or not. For example, you said that maybe education content is good, but entertainment is not. But who knows? Maybe entertainment for somebody is completely fine, and we can't.
Yes, I agree.
We can say that it's not good because we think.
That's why I think balancing between different types and categories of content is good thing. So not only entertainment, but also education. Not only so entertainment has its own purpose. Yes, that's right. But I'm not saying that. First of all, these kind of algorithmic decisions are like just 33%, for example, let's say, but now they're just in hands of tech companies. So tech companies, according to their own interest, they decide what the algorithm will be, and the algorithm is not transparent. Yeah.
I would completely support this because I wanted to say something very similar, and I think there is an even bigger problem, because even if you would completely agree, I don't know, this content is good or entertainment is good or bad or education is good or bad, then there is so much content that you can't put that easily in one of the categories. For example, I don't like entertainment content because it makes me, I don't know, angry, but often I watch people paint or draw, so maybe you could call this education content, but is this a better content than entertainment content? I don't know. So I wanted to agree that it's really hard to judge what is good content and what is bad content, and I think it depends completely on the feelings or on the state a person is in, and maybe the person needs entertainment content more than education content, and I think society would need to agree to this to use the suggestions the algorithms make, because otherwise then you see the suggestions and nobody will click on it.
Yes, but if it is, yes, I want to say, actually, that's what I remembered based on your first thing that you said. Actually, as I may have mentioned, now the algorithms are set only towards the interest of these big tech companies. But in the future, they may be set both by some kind of common values and interests of society at 10 companies as well. So you don't take profits of tech companies, but you don't make the terrible effects on society like you do now. So it's also about kind of common interest. It's about agreement between tech companies and society. And it's not about deciding what's good for you. It's about deciding that kind of balance is good for you. Kind of exposure to other stuff is good for you. Not only, it doesn't have to be 50% balance. It can be, okay, just 10% of, maybe this person really needs to rest, to watch some things that doesn't make sense. Okay, why don't we give that 10% of possibility that some kind of content will be really helpful for them. Maybe you don't know, you need just to chill out and something like that. But it's not really determining what you should get. It's really determining that you should get a variety of content. And it's not only decision by a few people in the United Nations or something like that. It is based on a widespread discussion in society. And it is only one part of the decision that goes to these universal values, universal balance, and then it's shifted by tech companies, and then it's shifted by you. At the end, you will be getting some for example, 5% or 10% of other kind of content. But if you don't get any kind of different content now, then it's particularly negative. Does it make sense?
Yes, of course. I just
and that's good. That's very good. Yes, you should.
Good work.
It's very helpful for me how you see this and what you think about this. What, for example, I cannot remember. I can ask GPT-4 to give me ideas, but you know, it's not the same. And in the future, if you only get GPT-4 ideas, we are going to be very limited in our perspectives and creativity. And that's also what Helga Novotny in her book, In AI We Trust, says. And I'm very on the line with her on this kind of attitude that humanities should be brought in the area of technology, and it's crucially important at this point because the technology is so powerful and it's not even acknowledged. These recommender systems, it could be argued, are the greatest impact and force in the world at this very point. Maybe someone online has some questions.
Yeah, there was a question, but I'm afraid
there are lots of comments.
Let's check the chat comments what we have here. Okay, so
I think you need to scroll.
racism is mainstream, but it's never too late to change it. Try at least. Racism and hate speech are not relative. We have here, and racism is not relative. Liberalism does not seem to be a solution either, as the mainstream is racist. It should not be the only but variety, but who is the people, even when people get the chance to decide. And their policies which are anti-capitalist cannot be colorblind. Net symbolism content not allowed today, and it's illegal in some countries. Okay.
I know who wrote that.
Oh, well, not sure.
It's from administrator.
Well, I'm afraid we reached the end of the talk already, but wonderful.
Jelena Savic from Serbia.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jelena. If you have further questions, please get in touch with Ljubisa directly. Please drop him a line so we can respond via email. So please stay in touch. You have the information about his lab and his homepage and his email address on this slide. Thank you so much, Ljubisa, for this fascinating talk. You see, it's a great discussion we are having here. And I think in your talk also proved that a talk about ChatGPT and beyond can be educating and entertaining as well. So thank you so much. And let's give him a big round of applause in the room, but also virtually. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.